we're putting the whole flute together today, and this is, there are a couple things to think about when you put the flute together. The alignment of the head joint with the body. Most people say you want the head joint embouchure hole here. I never look at it, I just know by feel. But you want the hole here, this embouchure hole, to line up essentially with the keys. Essentially, the middle of the hole here is going to be with the middle of the keys. You can see and when I'm talking about the keys, not that key that's off, but the rest of the keys that are all in line. Well, almost all in line. So you can see I have holes. This is referred to as open holes on flute. Don't know why they call it open holes. It's just a hole, right? This hole on the body is called the tone hole. These we call open hole keys. So you want to line that up. The foot joint goes essentially with, you see that? This bar is essentially in the middle of those keys. You would think it would look nice to like line up the bars. That looks so pretty. Like, what a beautiful instrument we play, right? And it just looks like that would just be nicely in line, and then the keys are in line, but you'll never be able to reach it. That will not work. Nobody does this. It just looks nice. So you want to line up the middle of this with the middle of the tone hole, about. And you will work on that later. You'll work on that later. Everybody's hands are a little bit different, but this is the basic way for everyone. The next question becomes like, well, how the heck do we hold this crazy off-center thing? It sure would be nice to play it this way, like a clarinet. And I've seen flutes actually modified like this. If you Google around and look on YouTube, you might find one. But they're, unbelievably rare. Like maybe there's 3 in the world, who knows? So we hold it off balance. And so I encourage you to kind of turn your body and turn your head a little bit so that your flute, if I'm facing the camera, my body is not going to be straight on with the camera. My body's going to be a little turned. So I'm turning to my right in order to face the camera. The flute is parallel with the camera. The flute is pretty much parallel with my face. So if I do it, I don't normally think about this every day. I just do it. Where do your fingers go? Your left hand is going to go between these 2 keys. Kind of between there. You see that? There's not going to be a finger go here. The finger's going to go here. You notice that it moves no matter what. Your first finger will eventually go there, and that's the only key it will ever play. So we kind of support the flute. I'm going to turn around and give you a little bit of an idea here from the back. The thumb is going to eventually have to go back and forth. So I don't hold it with those fingers so much. And in the beginning, it might feel weird and you might feel like you have to, but we're going to try to kind of balance it somewhat on this knuckle, that one, not the top one, not the middle one, but this, and even a little bit down here. So if I place that kind of almost under the flute, then my fingers are actually free to move. Here it is from the front, left hand, right? Because I will have to move all of them at some point. You can see my thumbs coming up. Okay, right hand, my thumb is the support, and it's going to go underneath. You can see from the end here, I've got my foot joint, and my pinky will go on this little D sharp key, we call it. And then I've got these 3 keys. Yours probably don't have holes, that's fine. My thumb is going to go pretty much underneath the first or maybe the middle of the first and second finger. Depends on your hand a little bit. Everybody's thumbs, not only do we have different size hands, but we have different proportions. So sometimes, somebody's thumb is much shorter compared to their first finger. So it's going to be a little different, but I hold my flute a lot like I might hold a cup. So if I'm drinking my tea that I love to drink, I'm going to hold my cup. That's a lot like what I'm going to do when I come to my flute, except my flute is a little smaller. And again, we're gonna later on, I know you can't play this fast, but I want to show you a little bit about how free my fingers need to be. So I do that by then letting the flute kind of rest on my thumb. So there are 3 balance points. I'm balancing a little bit here on the, almost like on the knuckle at the crook of when I bend. And you can just kind of look at my hand position. This is somewhat straight here, and then there's a bend. If we try to do it like coming out, it's going to be, actually that kind of hurts my shoulders already. It doesn't feel very good because I'm now holding the flute, whereas when I normally hold the flute up, it's just kind of resting on me. Like it's resting here, it's resting here, and then it rests a little bit on my chin, but I'm not pushing on my chin. So these are things to experiment with as you're learning how to just hold the flute, and you can watch this video many times to see what I say about each hand. General finger position, we want the fingers to be over the keys that they will play. So you don't want them to be way up here. You don't want to have one finger down and the rest of them flying around. You want to be able to just have all the fingers where they need to be. In your first few notes of flute playing, you'll probably just use the left hand notes for a little while, maybe several weeks even, I don't know, it depends on your band book. And you can play quite a number of songs and tunes with just those notes only. So have fun with this. Again, look in a mirror, experiment. You might even take a video or a picture of yourself. But think about this concept that the flute rests on you. It rests on the thumb, right? It rests here, it rests here, and you don't have to grip it ever. I know you might not feel that way in the first few weeks, but just keep in mind that there is a way to hold this flute, I promise, where you're not gripping. That way it's easier and it doesn't hurt. If you're gripping for too long, it's going to make your hands hurt after a while. So you don't want to do that. So good luck. If you think I have left something out or you have questions, you can certainly comment. And it might even be easier to email me if you have a question. But I will try and get back to your comment if you question in the comments and answer and give you some ideas of what else you can do. But this is just some of the basics to kind of help you with learning how to hold it and then figuring out where do my fingers go. And since my flute looks a little different, it might be hard to see. The pinky. You can see we skip a couple there. We go down here. Again, yours is not going to have this hole, but eventually the pinky can actually go to all these keys. It can do all of these, and it learns how to slide around. The weird one is this. You skip that one. That feels, I remember that being weird. I didn't quite understand that when I first played flute. So have a great time. You picked a great instrument. If you're frustrated with it, just keep in mind that's normal. And that would be true with any instrument in the first month or so. So good luck.